So we integrate our clients' products into their lives in a way that make them necessary. Like not, I want that, but I have to have that product as part of the story of my life. Sometimes my friends will say, wait, plants need PR? I don't get it. It's everybody needs a good hype woman, and that's what we do. It wasn't just, I want one plant. You don't have just one pair of sneakers. We've got sneakerheads. We never play this. So we have people who are really into the collecting aspect.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed Podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Katie Dubow from Garden Media Group. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Shannon, I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Your energy is great, and this is going to be a great podcast.
Get people up out of their seats.
Yes. Start jumping, doing jumping jacks, some kind of energy. I think some people probably listen to podcasts when they exercise. I don't know about that. That would be kind of crazy. I would never do that. But those people are probably really, really, really motivated.
If you're jumping, don't do this.
Don't do any jumping jacks when you're driving. So Katie, could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Maybe if you'd introduce yourself in a different way than I would, and anything relevant on your professional journey up to this point that you think would be important to tell?
Sure. I give a lot of talks, and it's always so awkward when they do the introduction of you, and you're standing over there like, oh, but maybe it's even more awkward for me to tell you all these great things about myself. But I am a second generation business owner. So I run a business called Garden Media Group, and we specialize in what else? Gardening. And what we do for the garden industry is PR. So sometimes my friends will say, wait, plants need PR? I don't get it. It's everybody needs a good hype woman, and that's what we do. We try to get, our mission of the company is to get people gardening 365 days a year. We want you interacting with plants all the time. And all people interacting with all the plants all the time. And so we have clients who span the industry, who everything from seeds to furniture to containers to companies that sell to garden centers. And it's really fun. I love what I do. I am lucky that I'm second generation. So my mom started the business. We celebrate 37 years this year. Thank you. Yeah, she started it when she put me on the bus to kindergarten. And then I took over in 2020 when my daughter started kindergarten. So it was a very full circle moment. She has since retired, and I'm based out of Pennsylvania. And I did not always know, for people who think, oh, working in a family business, like I did not. I was going to come back and work in a family business, and I would come back and live at home. I think the journey, we don't know where we are going to end up, and being open to what the potential is, not something that I would have thought. Like I was not open to it. I was never coming back to work at home. But I was working in New York City in fashion PR. So I was working for a jewelry company, and we got a lot of free jewelry, and it was really great perk. But it felt like I was just on the mouse wheel, trying to get people to buy new products every year. And I'm still trying to do that. I still want you to buy plants all the time, but it feels so much more authentic and holistic to get people to dig in the dirt. And I have probably never heard the term dirt is the new Prozac, but there are scientific proven results that the enzymes release when you dig in the dirt make you happy. So literally, I'm in the happiness industry. It's just, it is a wonderful thing. I also, about 6 years ago, was invited to be a guest host on QVC, which is a home shopping channel, if you're familiar. And so I sell plants on TV too. So it's really part of the mission of being able to try to reach people and get them to garden. All ages, all generations. One of our clients is an organization called Seed Your Future, and they're trying to get people who are college age interested in, or high school age interested in, the profession of horticulture. And one of the things that people might not know is there are podcasters. Like we're on a podcast. There are podcasters who talk about horticulture. I'm in PR. There's graphic designers. So there's just being able to be in this industry and share that not only can you do what you love, but it can be in an industry where you're making people happy and it's kind of a win-win. So I feel very lucky.
That's so beautiful. I think that I really resonate with the business that is trying to get high schoolers and college age into
Yeah.
horticulture. One of my best friends went to college for engineering, hated it, almost dropped out, and then switched to horticulture. And I've never seen her more
Yes.
happy.
Yes.
Plants have changed her life. I think that I completely agree with the idea that it is a serotonin boost to
Yeah.
be involved in plants. There's so many activities that I've gotten to be introduced because of her, that
Super
she has
cool.
been involved with. She worked in horticulture for a cemetery near us that is very large. Do you know Laurel Hill?
Yeah. Laurel.
Yes,
As much as you can love a cemetery, I love Laurel Hill.
it's beautiful. I like cemeteries. I don't have a problem with them at all. I think they're gorgeous. A lot of the time, even when they're overgrown, I think they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
I and plants for cemeteries are super. It's a very normal profession. It's
A lot of
common.
them are certified arboretums
Yeah,
and green burials are becoming really common. So they're planted.
they have those there.
Yeah.
I think it's so
I-
wonderful.
Yeah.
I do really like all these things. And I think that I really resonate with what you said about, being in PR in another industry is probably very, very different. I think that there's definitely a specific industrious minded people that want to work in things like fashion PR or PR for a law firm or whatever it may be. But I think that, especially when you're kind of pushing a product that is just for being sold and not for any benefit, if that makes sense. I
Yep.
think that if you have a mind that is more wanting to be helpful, it's very difficult to progress in that
It
state.
is.
And I can completely understand that because I am definitely a similar minded person, where it doesn't you can be really good at something, but that doesn't mean that you're happy doing it. And there's nothing wrong with being in a PR profession in any other industry, but it's
Right.
really nice to know that you're pushing something and
Question about.
yeah, that is helpful for people and is a wonderful thing to take part in.
Yeah.
So
Very lucky.
this started as a gardening PR media group even when your mom did it, or was it a niche that changed?
It changed over time. The 37 years is our parent company, Impact Marketing, and about 27 years ago, she decided to focus on, I mean, it's, forever. We've been doing this forever, but yeah, the whole time was not specifically gardening, it was more local PR. But we live out in the country, in Pennsylvania, where there are some growers. And there was, my mom actually did some work for the mushroom industry and she helped their reputation, a local reputation. And a local grower named Star Roses and Plants saw the work that she had done to help increase the local mushroom industry's work. And they said, we're launching a plant. It's not named yet. We don't know what the market's going to be, but maybe you could help us. And it's a national. So it was her first national account. And that plant is the Knockout Rose. And it turns 25 this year. So it for me also, we're helping promote that. So it's so full circle. All of these moments, like they were the field behind our house, and it's just come so far. So yeah, it's been a little maybe 27 years I've been focused on gardening solely, and being in that niche has really helped us. I know some people have said, well, doesn't that because we don't have conflicting clients, we wouldn't take, two orchid clients, two seed clients. And so they think, well, doesn't that really hinder you? And it doesn't, and it hasn't yet. And I think all of our clients really believe that the rising tide rises all boats. So if we're helping promote bird feeders, anything that touches gardening, so bird feeders, fire pits, furniture, there's a lot of categories that we can still work with.
That's really lovely. That definitely, I think that keeps you on your toes, so to speak. Especially, I think that when I think about niching down, that's a topic that comes up in agency work all the time. I think that sometimes there are fields that could be too niche where you might become bored. it's very cool that there's so many fascinating different sectors that are surrounding gardening that necessarily is like gardening specific,
Right.
but like an adjacent kind of um avenue that you can go down. And I think that's really cool because that must be one, you're learning all the time, which is my favorite thing to do. But also I think that it's it's wonderful to marketing is constantly changing all the time. So I think that it's something that you don't always get bored, I guess, because there's
Yeah.
so many changing things. But I think that if you're working in an industry for so long, there kind of becomes maybe you get some burnout because you're doing the same thing over and over again. So to be able to work with all these different industries and learn about them must be fascinating.
It is. And I learn something new every day because I don't have a horticulture degree. I have a communications degree, so I learn all the time. My mom used to say, "I haven't written a press release about it. I don't know anything about it." And nowadays, we don't write as many press releases. But let's say if I haven't done an Instagram reel about it, but it's true that like I love to learn too, and I'm constantly finding out more information. And every industry is always evolving. So we're creating new plants. There's a new plant that glows in the dark, brand new plant, and it glows in the dark. They've been working on it for 40 years. So and I was just like, wait, how does it work? Tell me again. So,
No
so
way.
it's just, there's not only are there new categories, but there's constant innovation happening within the industry.
Well, speaking of changing industry, did you notice any shifts post pandemic with gardening that do you think it made it maybe easier to do PR or maybe during the pandemic it made it easier to do PR because people were bored in their homes and wanted
Yeah.
to, donate more time to taking care of plants or having a hobby. Do you think that there was a specific change in the industry that made things easier or harder or just different?
Well, the statistic from the National Gardening Association says that we garnered 18 million new gardeners over the pandemic. I know. Draw.
Wow.
Uh, we got a lot. The number one reason people don't garden is time. And I would say you could fill in the blank for the number one reason people don't go to the gym is time, right? The number one reason people don't. It's we're so busy as a society. And so the pandemic was a beautiful time that we all were able to just say, okay, there's no birthday party this weekend. There's no work event I have to travel for. And so it really decreased our responsibilities and increased our time. And so we grew astronomically. I took over January in 2020 from my mom, and then
Whoa.
everybody shut down the whole world. Um, so fun time, fun time business owner. But luckily, our industry was, for a couple of weeks, it was touch and go, and we actually lost a client who didn't know what the future was going to hold. But after that dip, we're off and running, and so we were really lucky. We're looking now at people who started gardening over the pandemic. They've been gardening for 5 years, so they're not beginners anymore. And so I think, not all those people are still gardening. I think saying we lost about 60% of them, but because we had to go back to taking our kids to karate and, birthday parties and regular life, French with friends. But we got a lot of new people and we got a lot of young people. And so I think for any industry to be able to capture the hearts like your friend who entered into the horticulture space, to be able to capture people saying, and we got a lot of people who left the rat race. It was like, I'm a lawyer, but I've always wanted to be a gardener. And I think priorities shifted over the pandemic and people realized that maybe what was used to be important to them is not important anymore. And what is important to them is more time with their family, being in nature, and all of the things that we can offer as an industry became really valuable to people. So
Yeah.
we grew.
No, I love to hear that. And I also think that I love the value shift that happened after COVID. I definitely agree with that. I think that um it really opened a lot of people's eyes because a lot of people are so industrious and work driven. And once it wasn't there, what do you do? Yeah. And I think that things like gardening and being involved in plants, I think it's not only a hobby that's like it's important for everyone. I think to have hobbies that are outside of work. I understand that a lot of people love work, and that is not a problem.
No.
But I think that having something that is like an outlet outside of work is super important, and I'm happy that people were able to develop those hobbies during that time. And it sounds like it really improved your client base. So that's really,
Yep.
really great.
Yeah, it did.
So what are the difficulties that come with PR for plants specifically? Because I know you mentioned that there's so many different industries, and I'm trying to imagine like a new plant drop.
Yeah.
How do you like advertise that in a way that makes people want to buy it outside of like looks?
Yeah. Well, one of the first challenges is that it takes years, at least a year to grow plants. So when we have a new plant that is available, we have a certain number of them. And demand is great. We want to sell out, but it's not like we can just snap our fingers and make more on a conveyor belt.
Mhm.
And so the demand, we really have to work on demand and supply because it takes years sometimes to bring a plant to market. So following trends, which is something that our company loves to do, we have a trend report that we release every year. And the trends for plants, you need to look at 10 years in advance because we're discovering these plants, maybe finding them like in the cracks alongside of a road in Thailand, or like new plants are being discovered all the time, or made, like the glow in the dark plant, um, made by scientists. And so we have these things that are take years to create. And so that's another challenge. Um, and, I think that, however, so for a new plant drop, I think that the most exciting thing though is that people are collectors and we're seeing more and more of the excitement about people wanting to collect things. It wasn't just, I want one plant. Like, you don't have just one pair of sneakers. We've got sneakerheads. We now have plants. So we have people who are really into the collecting aspect. So that demand supply thing is not such a big deal. It's really the long range planning where we're not making something factory, and that's really the biggest challenge. One other challenge, though, I will say is plants are regional. So if we're not talking about indoor plants, when we're talking about outdoor plants, you could be marketing a plant that's great for the Philadelphia area. It has no application in Arizona, California, Texas, Minnesota, Florida. So when we do campaigns, we oftentimes have to be either super generic or really regionally specific. And so marketing we do both. But we have to really know the audience, which you should know when you're doing any kind of marketing or pitching. You should know once you get your brand down, who your audience is. That's an important next step. But it is a challenge for plants because one size does not fit.
So for the longevity of like planning out a like the supply and around the supply and demand, does that mean that you have to plan for how many people you target to make sure that you don't sell out too quickly?
Yeah, not only that, but also we want to have a decent amount of plants before we go to market. I mean, our clients can't go to market with 5 of them. They need to have 100,000 of them. And so they need to build up the stock to go to market with pallets. We want to get close to selling out. We don't want to sell it the first week, and we certainly don't want to have 50,000 left over at the end of the
Yeah. That's very interesting. I never even thought about that as a part of that planning. Hmm. Okay. So let me phrase my question better. um huh. So I would think, and maybe this is not good because people might forget about it, but I would think that if you sold out, there would be more demand, which would be good for business. But is it because of the amount of time that it takes to grow that you're worried that they will be forgotten about in like a year or so, that it won't be wanted as
Don't
much?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The Knockout Rose, when they first came out 25 years ago, they had 10,000 that first year. And so they sold out. And the first 10 years of Knockout Rose, they didn't buy any advertising. It was all word of mouth and PR. So the demand grew slowly. and they sold out every single year to now where they are in every garden has a knockout rose, mall parking lots have knockout roses. I mean, they're everywhere. But it's been 25 years. So selling out is a good thing. And it's certainly the goal. We want to sell out, but we want to make sure that, yeah, because the next time we'll be able to sell them, it's next spring. So it's
Yeah.
a year later, and it's tell people, I'm on QVC. So, and it's one of our strategies to get people to get the plant to sell out. You want when it comes back on the next airing, you want people we want to be able to say this sold out in 8 minutes. So if you don't buy it now, you're not going to get a chance to get it. But the plant community is a little different. It's not this like consumption, have to have. If you don't get that knockout rose, there are 1,600 other rose varieties that could suit you. So I think for me, it's also about a competitor. So for our clients, selling out, is someone going to wait till next spring, or are they going to find something else to fill that hole in their garden this season?
So that makes a lot of sense actually. So how do you craft a narrative around a plant, if that makes sense? Like if you're advertising to a generic consumer,
Mhm.
like a maybe a more passive, like, gardener, if
Oh,
that makes
sure.
sense,
Yeah.
maybe not a collector. How does that work? Because I know that it's, a lot of people just look at a plant and want to buy it, and that's what they do, and that's, they don't know much about it, or they don't care to know much
Yeah.
about it other than how to water it. So how do you, like, create a story around,
If they know how to
gardening?
water it. Someone
Yeah,
bought
if they know not
Yeah.
me. It
Right.
couldn't be me.
Yesterday, I was reading Facebook, and in my like plant community group, this lady shared a fiddle leaf fig, which is like a covenant plant. Yeah, you even know it. And it was like short and it had a brown leaf. And she said, I water it twice a week. I don't understand why it's not working. And there were 60 comments like, you need more plants because you're spending too much time on it. You're loving it too much. Twice a week. I water my fiddle leaf fig once a month. So, if people even know. So how do we craft a narrative? Um, I think that with any marketing in general, you're selling a dream. What we want to do is sell the dream. Um, I just visited a ski mountain called Sun Valley in Idaho last week. I was out there for a conference, the Idaho Nursery and Landscape Association conference, and I went to this ski resort town called Sun Valley. And it was invented by a man who owned a railroad. And he wanted people from the East Coast to travel in his railroad more. And so he thought, if I build it, they will come, right? I mean, it's an age old idea of if we put this ski resort out west, they'll ride my train. I don't care what they do once they get there, but it became this big hit, elegant ski resort. And I am trying to do the same thing when a new brand first comes to us. Um, we want to know if they have new products coming out, right? New products are important. We want to know what their audience is, what their price points are. But our job, because the brands often can't come up with the dream, what are you providing your customers with? Are they now more environmentally friendly? And that's what they want to do. They want to achieve goals of being able to support the environment with their purchases. Or they want to show off and they want their neighbors to be drooling over their backyards. They're keeping up with the Joneses. Like, what is the passion of and those are like the two most opposite ends of the spectrum, but what is the passion of the gardener or the customer, not even an avid gardener? Like, why is the person buying this plant? What are they hoping to achieve? A new homeowner is looking to make this home like their own, right? They want to make this something that their first thing that they have owned, and they want to plant a tree because this is now they're going to watch the tree grow as their home grows and as maybe their children, begin to grow. So we're trying to tell a story. And along with that story of their life, you can't have a new home without planting a new tree because throughout the seasons, that tree will change colors and add beauty to your landscape. It will increase the value of your home. Over the years, you'll be able to take pictures of your family out by that tree. And so we integrate our clients' products into their lives in a way that make them necessary. Like, not I want that, but I have to have that product as part of the story of my life.
I think that's beautiful. I can see a commercial right now of that, like a very wholesome commercial of a tree growing in tandem with a child.
Yeah. Totally.
No, that got me.
And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That got me, and I didn't even have to be watching it. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. I never really thought about it kind of intertwining it with people's lives. That definitely seems like a strategy that would work really well.
There are more tactics under that, but when we create a budget and when we create a proposal for a client, the biggest thing that we want to tackle is our goal. And our goal is very high level. Like Steve Jobs' goal was a Mac in every household. And so it wasn't, we're going to manufacture the parts and we're going to put, it was, we want to achieve this big high level dream and that I want a tree in every home, these are the big goals. And then of course there are little deliverables under that to achieve that goal. But that's, I think, what people miss. And listen, people here are probably in marketing who are listening. So they are not fooled when they see these kinds of commercials, but I still get fooled, especially on social media. I like, oh my God, I have to have that product for my dog. I'm getting so many dog products right now. I don't know what algorithm shifted for me. I've had my dog's 13. But I'm getting all the products and it's like, oh, but my dog's ears bother. Yes, I need to buy that product because her ears. We all fall for it.
Yeah, no, of course. There are so many ads that I fall for that I'm like, I never even thought about needing this,
Yep.
but now I really think that I need this.
Yep.
And those are the best kind of campaigns for
They are.
sure. Because that's like what the goal of any marketer I think is to do is to stop you in your tracks kind of thing.
Yeah.
So a big curiosity that I have specifically is okay, is there bad PR for plants? And have you ever had to create a campaign or navigate around a previously poor execution of PR for any industry that you've worked at? Because I'm so curious about like what the negative things could be for these kind of areas because it's not like a company that does something bad. I plants are like they can't do something bad. Yeah.
Right. And we're in agriculture, we're in horticulture, but there have been salmonella outbreaks, like we don't have to deal with that kind of crisis communication. And but I have a young employee who's 25 and she just finished up her master's and she was taking a class in crisis communication. And interestingly, at the same time, we had some chatter on one of our clients' Facebook pages or one of their social media pages, bashing one of their employees for for political views, political views that they had put out there on the internet and had nothing to do with plants. And I was like, I have never had to do a crisis communication thing in my entire life. Never. In this industry, I've never.
It doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't happen. So it's, like I said, are people disgruntled because the plant that they got home died? Yes, there is definitely like you are dealing with living things here. And so people are disgruntled. But as far as plants go, I'll tell you about one thing that might be a little touchy, and I turned to her and I was like, I need your help with this crisis. Like, and she addressed it immediately, own up to it, like, don't sweep it under the rug, some very classic tools that she learned in school. And it was wonderful and it was very helpful. You don't always beat trolls, but in this case, I think it was helpful. We were able to provide value to our clients. Another area certainly that the plant industry's native plants and pollinators. So I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, Honey Nut Cheerios took the bee off of the box because of this storytelling around the decline of pollinators. The monarch butterfly is at its lowest numbers yet, and it's teetering on being put on the endangered species list. So I think that there is a general sect of the population, not everybody, that knows that our pollinators are in trouble. Maybe like even our animals. We know there's been some great work around endangered, extinct animal populations. And so there are some harmful chemicals that you can put on your yard and in your garden that will not only harmful to wildlife, but guess who else they're harmful to? Your pets and your children and yourself. So we are lucky that as a business, my mom had a business's card who had some of those harmful chemicals on her desk for a long time, and she never called him. And as a business, we are very lucky to be able to say we don't want to work with a brand who is harming birds, bees, butterflies, putting this kind of thing back into the ground, into the earth. We won't work with a company like that. Um, and so that is that could be a crisis for another company, but it's not something that I'm dealt with.
Yeah, well, that's really lovely. It's also nice to know that um I think that there a level of respect comes with knowing to say no to different people like that. Not just because I mean, if anything, maybe it's better for you if something bad happens because you're a PR agency and that's kind of what you're supposed to
Yeah.
be doing as well. Um, but it's good to know that your values lie with not integrating those kinds of companies into your clientele because I think that one that probably makes people want to work with you a little more. Obviously maybe not those companies that have
Yeah.
um debatable views about how they do things. But I think that that showcases, the value that you have for yourselves and the be doing good.
What do you, besides our other clients, we work with the National Wildlife Federation, a large national nonprofit, and they would never work with us. We
Yeah,
work against one of those companies. So we get clients because of those values. But I think even more importantly than that, I know that my employees feel really good about like you said, the values of our company. And if you stick to those values, your culture will shine through and your employees will feel that culture. And it creates, I think, a pretty strong baseline for us as a team. And we're a really strong team here at Garden Media Group. There's 11 of us. It's not like there's 500 of us. But I think it's because everyone knows what our values are and we can all latch on and all stay really true to them.
that makes me really happy. I also love hearing agencies do good because I think that even though you have a very niche industry, I feel like I talk to a lot of agencies and not that I'm saying that any of them do bad because I don't know enough about them to know that. But I think earlier on in agency work, I think that there was a lot of secrecy, there was a lot of like doing things maybe the wrong way, debatably over how you feel about what's the right way and the wrong way. But I think I see a trend of agencies doing more good like you, and that is very great for me to hear. So I really appreciate you sharing that as well.
Out with the Mad Men era of too many cocktails at lunch. Listen, I mean, that's for a time and a place, but we're here to get good work done and be inclusive.
Yeah, no, I think that's a wonderful note to end on because you're a little bit over time. But thank you so much for sharing all this with me. I think I learned a lot, which is really great. I love this very specific industry that I don't know much about. So it was really lovely to get to learn about it with you today. So I really appreciate you sharing all your insight.
Well, it flew by. You had wonderful questions, and it was really easy to talk to you. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching and or listening. Don't forget to check out other episodes so you can learn like I get to do every time I do this podcast. So definitely a blessing. Thank you so much and have a lovely day, everyone.
Bye.